Hope you're all doing well this evening, and we've got some big news to discuss tonight. I mean, there is a story that Pogba and Bruno are out of the game tomorrow, which is in the Mirror. You know what I think about the Mirror. I think it's very, very hit and miss. I'm not saying they're going to be wrong, but apparently they've injured each other, and they're both unlikely to play tomorrow. Is the story, or maybe that's not correct. I don't know, but I don't really think there is too much to that. But we'll talk about that in a bit. I mean, I just can't see we're in a situation where Manchester United are not. Where Bruno and Pogba are injured. That would be ridiculously unlucky, and I don't think there's anything in that, but we'll discuss it in a minute. But we will start off with the big news that's been coming in this afternoon, and it's come from Mr. Ian McGarry, who does a podcast with Duncan Castles called The Transfer Podcast. And basically they're saying that a deal in principle has been agreed with Jadon Sancho. Terms have been agreed with Jadon Sancho by Manchester United. A 5-year deal with an initial £140,000 a week that goes up to £200,000 a week. And this has obviously caused a lot of excitement in the Manchester United fan base because we all want to sign Jadon Sancho. And look, that is the story. End of show. No, that is the story. I mean, what do you think about that? I've just got to say as well, welcome to Lewis Turner, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thanks for joining and supporting the channel, everybody. As I said, we won't be doing Patreon or anything like that where it's hidden behind a paywall, but if you want to support the channel and get a little badge next to your name like Hatil Will and Suhas Shalin, thank you for joining, people. But let's talk about this Jadon Sancho story. So essentially the news is that in the last couple of weeks Manchester United have agreed a deal in principle with Jadon Sancho on a 5-year deal with £140,000, which can rise to £200,000. What are my initial thoughts on this? What are your initial thoughts on this? Well, to be honest with you, I don't have an issue with it. I'm not going to say it's a load of rubbish. I'm not going to say it's true. Some people are saying it's fake. I mean, look, at the end of the day, there is a story going around that that this is the same podcast that said that we were going to sign Ansu Fati. So look, some people get things right, some people get it wrong. But what I would say is that I don't necessarily think that it matters, is what I would say, whether it's true or whether it's fake or anything like that. Welcome to Ryan Shaffett, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Because whether that's been misquoted or whether it's true, and Jonathan White as well, whether it's true or misquoted, it's not the mountain you need to climb. The mountain you need to climb is Borussia Dortmund and agreeing with a fee with them. I could be Manchester United boss. I could be Ed Woodward. Some people say I look like him. They've quoted it from a parody site. A disgrace, as extras E. And Suffolk Day says, welcome to... latest member of the United Stand Members Club. So, look, whether it's fake or true, that's what we're going to get into tonight. But the point remains this. I've seen it quoted on United Report and United District, very good accounts on Twitter. But the point remains about this, that if Manchester United had agreed terms with Jadon Sancho, it still isn't agreeing a transfer. And it still goes back to everything that is credible about what we know around Jadon Sancho. And that is these things. 1, we're at the front of the queue to sign him. 2, we're in love with him. 3, he wants to come to the Premier League. And 4, you've got to buy him from Borussia Dortmund. They are the things that matter to me about this Jadon Sancho deal. Now, the way football works is this. If you want to sign a player, say you're Timo Werner, right? And Chelsea buy you. That deal is easy because there's a release clause, but you've still got to speak to the player. You speak to the player, do you want to come to Chelsea? What are your terms? They're very agreeable. Okay, let's go the next bit. Let's do the release clause. So, look, technically that's not meant to happen because it could be classed as tapping up, but there's very little point. Like, if we're Manchester United, right, and we want to sign Lionel Messi, there's very little point knocking on Barcelona's door and saying, we'll give you 200 million, and them going, yeah, now you can talk to Messi. And Messi goes, I don't want to play for you. You're not Pep. So you've got to sort of have that inclination from the player before you expose yourself, really, and say, this is what we want to do. So do I think Manchester United have been in discussions with Jadon Sancho? Yeah. Do I think other people have been into contracts with Jadon Sancho? Yes. Do I think that in principle deals may have been sort of discussed? Yes. Like, what sort of contract you're looking at? 5 years. What's your wages? Around 200 grand a week. Okay, that's all agreeable. Let's go and speak to Dortmund. So I think at the end of the day, I think some people are getting their knickers in a twist of whether it's fake or whether it's true. I just think if you understand how transfers work, the point is that terms being agreed between a player and any club are not is not a transfer being done. The transfer is done when you deal with Dortmund. And at the moment, United, as far as we know, are not dealing with Dortmund in relation to a transfer fee or anything like that. I think that will come, and I think that will come in August. But look, even if Jadon, well, he wouldn't do it, but even if the most credible, even if Fabrizio Romano came out and said terms have been agreed between Manchester United and the player, he would never do it because it's tapping up. But even then I would be like, that's only a little step. The big step is getting over the mountain of agreeing a deal with Dortmund. So whether you want to believe it or whether you don't want to believe it, I would say personally, in my opinion, there will have been discussions between Sancho and Man United and their agent, and I think there will have been positive discussions there. And I think it would go along the lines of, yes, we'd like to come to Manchester United if these parameters are set. And United go, right, let's go and see what we can get out of Dortmund. But Sancho maybe, look, I want to come to United. I wouldn't mind going to Chelsea. I want to come to the Premier League. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, I'm happy to stay where I am. You just don't know you don't know how he feels. Totally off topic, says Beautiful Daisy 1. Can you let David Grant from Canada know it's a boy? He will be so happy. It's a boy, David Grant from Canada. It's a boy. What a lovely way to do it. That's probably one of our best super chats ever. David from Canada. David Grant from Canada. It's a boy. Announced on the United stand. I feel so privileged to announce that. Thank you very much for the super chat and congratulations. That's always a bit of good news, that is. So fantastic. Welcome to Bernard Glover and Ben Ashen and Yashpal Singh and Suvik Day, latest members of the United Stand Members Club. Thank you for joining all of those people. We've had a super chat coming in from, I'm sure I saw it, Jonathan White, Ryan Schafelt. No, there was a super chat. Sorry about this. I don't want to miss it. It's gone. Muzzy Lion says, is it just me? I will not believe it until I see Sancho walk out the tunnel, considering our negotiation skills. Also loving the jersey, Mark. The jersey. I need to talk about the jersey. And George Broadway says, Mark, what's your thoughts on under 21 stars Ramazani leaving the club after failing to agree a new deal with the club? He looks like one of our best youngsters and a real future star. Well, look, Gomez has gone as well, hasn't he? I mean, there are, Bellingham's turned us down. I think we've got to move on from it, and that's all we've got to do. Loads of congratulations coming in from lots of people. This top is a United Stand top, but it's because I've been filming with Flex. We've been doing we're involved in I don't know what, I've got arm sponsors as well. I didn't even know what that is. Blood Brothers. We are filming. We were filming just before this an episode of the Blood Brothers United Stand Pro Clubs team was playing in its first game. We've got 5 fixtures, and then the 2 teams with the most points will get into the final. So we've got to wear our tops for the filming bit of the games that we're playing. So all I can say, it was a very interesting game, but that's why I'm wearing this. It's not for sale or anything like that. I've just literally finished, so this is the top for that. Simple as. So Jake, it's Bruvsy. I can't read that out. But somebody in the live comments did just say that Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes are not out of the game tomorrow. It's been confirmed on Twitter. And thank you for the super chat from Dylan Cork. I am going to be taking a lot of your questions because it's Friday night, by the way, and that's what we do on a Friday night show. So make sure you subscribe if you're new. Bottom right-hand corner. We're on the road to 730k. We're about 30 subscribers off before I came online. So please subscribe if you're new. Bottom right-hand corner. So yeah, there's this story from the Daily Mirror saying that Manchester United's Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes are injured, having basically tackled each other in training, and they're a doubt for the game tomorrow. And Bilal Ahmed, thank you for the super chat. He says, "Can you give us your thoughts on that?" Well, my thoughts are, and I said it online, I said it on Twitter. I said I don't understand why Manchester United would have Pogba and Bruno on opposite teams anyway for that to happen. It just doesn't make sense. People are, oh yeah, you know all about training. Well, I actually have played football at an okay level, and I've actually coached at an okay level. And in training, I would never put my 2 best midfielders training against each other. It just doesn't. I just wouldn't do that. Because that's exactly the sort of accident that you want to stop happening. If Phil Jones clatters Bruno, you just lose Bruno. But if Bruno and Pogba clatter each other, you could lose both, which is not what you want to see. Welcome to you and the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. So I expect to see them both tomorrow. As I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say in the press conference this morning that you could expect to see a couple of changes tomorrow. I think it will be Matic for McTominay, and Luke Shaw for Brandon Williams is what I think we'll see. Rashford should focus on football, says Jake. Well, I think he is focusing on football. He's played the last 2 games, isn't he? Also, can I just say as well, we were in the studio today, me and Flex, and we do a Premier League Weekly where we do talk about United, but we talk about the Premier League as well in the United Stand studio. Hopefully we're going to start to use that a little bit more, but please check it out on the homepage. It's the thumbnail with Harry Maguire on it and that says top 3 done. If Pogba and Bruno are injured, who's going to replace them, says Ewan Black. Well, if they are injured, we become the team that played against Norwich last week, and suddenly our chances of beating Bournemouth do diminish quite a lot. The drop-off without Pogba and Bruno and our team is pre-Christmas. That's the Man United you're going to see. It doesn't matter who's up front. It doesn't matter if it's Greenwood, Rashford and Martial. That midfield becomes redundant of quality and creativity. So we can't afford to lose one of them, let alone both of them. Is Inter really going to pay £18 million for Sanchez, says Kazale Chakrabarti. I mean, Inter Milan do have rich owners, but they have to be very careful about financial fair play. They're buying Hakimi. I think they're going to buy Tonali as well from Brescia. So I don't think they will buy Alexis Sanchez. I really hope that they do. I mean, look, for me, Antonio Conte is very close to getting a statue outside Old Trafford. Lukaku, Ashley Young. If he buys Alexis Sanchez, I'm going to start a GoFundMe for him, because that would be one of the biggest releases and reliefs we've ever had. Suggs 1980, surely the board can see we are only a few players away from being genuine title contenders. Spend the money now rather than filter it over 2 to 3 seasons. And KVF 26 says, is it true that if we win the Europa and the FA Cup, we will become the most successful club in England, overtaking Liverpool? I think on trophies won, yeah. I don't like that one though. I'd rather count it on how many Premier Leagues you win. I think that's more important to me. And I used to believe we didn't need Grealish, but you are absolutely right. That bench doesn't have enough quality. Imperative that we get him and Sancho. But that goes back to Suggs' point about the board. Can they not see that Manchester United are very close to signing, to being close to title contenders? But that, to me, in itself, is not something that we should just get really excited about. This is something we need to have to watch and see what happens with. Because if you think about Arsenal after the Invincibles was still a good team that gradually. If the Invincibles were up here, the final 10 years of the Arsene Wenger Arsenal story was just dum. But it always got top 4 and then it went past top 4. Manchester United, are we owned by people who want to win titles, or are we owned by people who want top 4? Because they might look at this team and go, this team's good enough to get top 4. We don't need to spend any money. Top 4's all we need. Some people think that's what the Glazers are all about, so we'll have to wait and see. Josh Sutton says, don't start a GoFundMe, just spend mine or Zane's super chats. And Lee Taylor says, that story came out and both Lingard and Pereira got excited. Do you think it would be worth a risk in resting Rashford, considering he's back, and putting James in, says Lee Taylor? I mean, look, I think that I wouldn't make loads of changes tomorrow against Bournemouth because it's an important game to win. And as Ollie said this morning, when you look at our next fixtures against Bournemouth and Villa and Southampton and Crystal Palace and West Ham, we're all expecting 15 points and 5 wins. But we've played those teams before this season and we took 2 points out of 15. So, look, we're playing really well at the moment. And I think that consistency is really important. And I think we will go and win a lot of those games. But it's only because expectations are so high and we've seen a massive improvement in the way that we play and the players that we have on the pitch that we're expecting those results. We're very capable of dropping points against some of these teams, so I wouldn't make loads of changes. Thanks for the contribution from Karen Via Japal. And where do you think United will finish next season with Sancho, says Ayub? Well, if we get Sancho, I would say that's very, very important. We've got over 15,000 people watching, which is amazing for a Friday night. So please subscribe if you are new, bottom right-hand corner, and smash a like on the video. Shout out to my friend Jake for coming out, says It's Bruvsy. Where are you going? It's lockdown. Where are you going out to? You shouldn't be going out. Tomorrow the pub's open, not July the 3rd. Why are you and Jake going out? I'm not happy about that. Get inside and social distance. Hi Mark, love the content, so I've joined the club, says Ewan. Thank you very much. If you do join the club, you get your little badge next to your name, like on Thatil Will, who says we've hit 730k, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you for that. And what does in principle mean, says Football Standard. So those people who are joining us a little bit late, Sancho agrees terms. This is a story that's come out today. We don't really know where it's coming from. Some people are saying it's coming from a fake website. Some people are saying it's coming from the transfer podcast of Duncan Castles and Ian McGarry. To be honest with you, I don't need to delve that deep into it because, to be honest, Duncan Castles has been right about some things as well. But he might be wrong, he might be right. But I don't think it's the big story everybody thinks it is. Because ultimately, as I've said, the most important part of completing a transfer is getting the deal done with the club. If you think back about Bruno Fernandes in January, I would say that we agreed terms with Bruno Fernandes in the middle of January, but we didn't get the deal done till the end of January because we spent so long negotiating the actual fee with Sporting Lisbon, and it could have fallen through at any minute. So agreeing terms with the player doesn't mean that they're going to come. You've got to agree the deal with Borussia Dortmund. Surely we should be able to beat Bournemouth without Bruno or Pogba, says Trent Singh. Well, we didn't at Bournemouth, so I think that's a very big statement. We should be able to, but we didn't. And Abhishek says, wouldn't Sancho's arrival hamper Mason Greenwood's development? He falls back in the pecking order then. No, I think that's the sort of mentality that teams who are going to be fighting for fourth for the next 10 years have. If you want to win titles, you go and bring Jadon Sancho in. We've got, all right then. Okay, Abhishek, let's not sign Jadon Sancho because it might hinder Mason Greenwood's development. Can Mason Greenwood play every single game next season, week in, week out, and play 60 games at 18 years of age? Well, he shouldn't be, because he'll be finished by the time he's 22. So straight away, that's a reason, because Mason Greenwood needs to be nurtured and rested and not have pressure on him. Secondly, if you do play him in them games, what if Marcus Rashford gets injured? That front three becomes James, Martial, Greenwood. What if Martial gets injured? That becomes James, Agallo, Greenwood. Is that good enough to win a title? No. We need depth. We need quality and depth. This is what we need. And Mason Greenwood will get... Mason Greenwood is world-class elect. He ain't going to be sat on the bench just because we signed Jadon Sancho. He can play left, he can play up front, and he can play right. He's exactly the perfect player we need. He's probably the most... Mason Greenwood's probably the most dynamic player that we've got, that he can play the front three positions. We always thought Martial and Rashford could play off the right, but they don't do it very often. Mason Greenwood can. Any watch-alongs tomorrow on your channel, says Ewan Black? Well, we're watching along the United stand tomorrow. The chart show is in the morning. Watch out for the chart show in the morning. But just let me tell you this. We've got something amazing happening tomorrow on the watch-along and the match reaction. For the first time ever, the player ratings will not be mine. They will be decided by you. So we've got something to launch tomorrow where you can all vote, and it will aggregate every vote. So if somebody votes 1 for sure and someone votes 10, it will aggregate what the average score is. So the player ratings, for the first time ever, will be done by you. It's very exciting. Welcome to Declan Carey, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Mr. Glenn Johnson says, on teenagers leaving, do you think the room for talent development in title-chasing clubs in the Premier League has made it hard, if not impossible, to give the proper game time to teenagers? Marcus Rashford, Brandon Williams, Mason Greenwood. We're developing players, mate. We are developing players. If some people aren't patient enough to see that they're good enough to get in the team, then maybe they're right to go. I start every day in the States with the United Stand, and I appreciate all you do, says Austin Clark. Thank you very much. And Austin Clark is the latest member of the United Stand Members Club, which is great. So if you are a member, you'll see in the live chats, you've got your little badge next to your name. Every month you remain a member, the badges change all the way through to the platinum one. I want our 4th spot secured before last game against Leicester so that we can use our strongest team against Chelsea, says Per-Eric Klassen. And welcome to Suggs 1980 and Abhishek Leah, the latest members of the club. And Marcus Rashford will be the best left winger in the world, says the fact that rivals were actually begging for Bruno and Pogba to be injured show how unstoppable we are with them. Your kit represents Mourinho's bus. And hello Mark, in your opinion, who's the most overrated player in the Premier League, says Tip Top. Dele Alli. Dele Alli. The new player ratings thing's going to be amazing, Joe. It really is. And just on that previous comment about, will that Leicester game for Manchester United be the decider for top 4? Look, if Leicester win their next 5 and we win our next 5, we're still 3 points behind Leicester. So if we beat them, we'll get top 4. I think we can win our next 5. I don't think Leicester will. So I think we could be in a position where we're ahead of Leicester before that game and they've got to beat us. And if Leicester have got to beat us, I don't think they're set up to beat us. They're a team that plays on the break. I mean, look, Vardy lives off crumbs, so I'm not worried. Fergie always had world-class forwards like Berber, Tevez, Rooney and Ronaldo playing in the same team, so I think depth is required to achieve something next season, says Abhishek. I agree. And Mark, do you consider Greenwood and Foden to be similar players, says Amand? No, I mean, one's a forward and one's an attacking midfielder. Jowan Daniel says, who from our youth setup do you foresee stepping up into the first team next season? I think long-term centre-back and CDM spots are up for grabs. Congratulations on 730k. Thank you, Joan, and welcome to Jack Stewart YT, latest members of the club. I mean, it's very hard to predict who the youth players are that are going to come through. There is so many. I mean, Mabry, it looks absolutely fantastic. Mengi, the centre-back, could be given a chance. Ethan Laird could be another one coming through. You never know with a Ghana, but I think he'll be on loan. I think the thing is, I think some of them will go on loan and some of them might get a chance. But if you think about this season being the breakthrough season for Brandon Williams, Greenwood sort of as well, although he was around before. I think there will be somebody next year. Who it will be, I don't know. But the thing that's bothering me at the moment is the fact that Tuanzebe has been out for nearly a year. I mean, do any of you know anything? I've asked around and I know people to ask and I can't get an answer on Tuanzebe. You know, I know tier 1 journalists and I've messaged them and said, you know, I even phoned somebody today. I said, what is going on with Tuanzebe? Because he's been out for a year. Is there some story there? I mean, not that I would tell you lot if there was, but I don't know. I don't know anything about Tuanzebe other than he's been injured for nearly a year. It's crazy. And he, you know, we talk about Mengi, but Tuanzebe should be coming through and he's been out for a year. Super chat from GB. Having not watched Jadon Sancho, what qualities does he bring to United above Greenwood and James? And heard Pogba and Fernandes got injured in training clash, says Azamat. Apparently it's not true, Azamat. Look, if you've not watched Jadon Sancho, where have you been? Where have you been? And Nathan Medhurst, hello pal, one of our members there. What does Jadon Sancho bring? I think Jadon Sancho brings proven game play. I've not got the word right. He is a proven top 5 young player in the world at this moment in time. And therefore he is a proven, potentially top 5 player in the world. He is a player that can be... Look, people like Neymar sing his praises. He can be as good as Neymar. That's how good Jadon Sancho can be. What is he as a player? He can run at people. He can create goals. He can score goals. I mean... likening players to players is ridiculous in my mind, but he is a Neymar. He is a Messi type player. He's not Messi and he's not Neymar, but he's that sort of player. He can score goals, he can create goals, and at his age, he's only going to get better and better. I mean, look, the reality is he's effectively been a teenager playing for Borussia Dortmund in Bundesliga, in the Champions League, performing. And he's started to do it for England as well. He's a star quality player. And he is worth the £80 million I think we will pay for him. Rashford t-shirt tomorrow. T-shirt looking good. Look. T-shirt look going strong, says the Go On Gamer. Thank you very much. And Southpaw Love Sports says, look at all these super chats and new members. I thought you guys only did well when United were losing. Yes, I know. And I said teenagers, Mark. When Rashford was teenagers, we weren't title challengers. Title challenging clubs only have 1 to 2 teenagers that gets game time, says Mr. Glenn Johnson. And if Leicester and United finish the season with the same points, what will the rule be? Goal difference or head-to-head results, says Ayab. I think it's goal difference. I think it is goal difference. Yeah. But going back to what Southpaw Love Sports says, look, thanks everyone who's tuning in. We've got over 15,000 people watching on a Friday night, and I think that's because we have a fantastic community around this channel. And I thank everybody for tuning in as per usual. We're not finished yet, by the way. We've still got loads to talk about. I want to talk about Player of the Month and the travesty around that. But look, I've always said that, you know, AFTV may be a channel that thrives off losing. That's not their fault. That's Arsenal's. They're not very good. But Manchester United, I've been doing this for 5 years. And I'll tell you what, Europa League night was the biggest we've ever had. And what happened? We won it. So, and I think there's a lot of positivity around United at the moment. Martin Carrera says, Mark, thoughts on AFTV saying that Arsenal will beat Wolves 2-1? Thoughts? I mean, look, if to be absolutely honest with you, if Arsenal beat Wolves, they've done us a favour. And if they beat Leicester, they've done us a massive favour. I really am going to be an Arsenal fan when they play Leicester next week. I want Arsenal to beat Leicester. If they can get a draw, great, but I want Arsenal to beat Leicester. Do I think they'll beat Wolves? No, I think Arsenal are not a very good team, so I don't think they'll beat Wolves. But if they do, fair play. Look, you're not catching us, no matter what you do. So you're not catching us. So whatever Arsenal do, it's like what your somebody does in your cellar. I'm not interested. Leave my wine alone and just carry on messing around in the cellar. I'll do it on the top floor. What's your thoughts on Pulisic? I'm an American and only hear the good about him, but I want to know what an English person thinks of him. Says, no, a fantastic player, Pulisic. I really wish United had gone for him. I was disappointed when Chelsea got that deal, but it was just another example of how efficient Chelsea are in the transfer window. They got Pulisic, they got Kovacic, they've got Havertz. No, they've not got Havertz yet. They've got Werner, Ziyech. They are very good in the transfer window, Chelsea, and they have been for a long time. He's a great player. Hi, Mark. Looking for a 4-0 win tomorrow. Rashi and Martial to score. Keep up the good work, makes is Alec Nichols. Thanks for the super chat. And Miguel Reyes says, imagine how unlucky it would be for us if Bruno gets injured at this point. Bruno's record with injuries is very good. He's not a player that gets injured a lot, so I don't think that's massive. Do a watch along and wear an Arsenal top. I dare you, says Suggs 1980. And welcome to Nikhil Ladder, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Fabrizio said, contract was never a problem. United just need to agree with Dortmund on his Twitter 5 minutes ago. Nothing really, but still good news. Which is exactly what we've just been saying. I mean, I'll check that for clarity, but it wouldn't surprise me if Fabrizio Romano has said that. Because, look, Romano's on a different level to me. He's a tier 1 journalist, but I like to sort of copy his relaxed nature in relation to this sort of thing. And I didn't even know he tweeted this. How would I? Because we've been live. Yeah, so okay. So Bavith Henry on Twitter said to Fabrizio Romano, Sancho personal terms agreed, ? And he said, Sancho's contract has never been a problem and will not be a problem. He'd like to join Manchester United, as I said many times, but United must find an agreement with Dortmund. So this, sometimes I love this community and I love this channel and I love the way that we have this positive approach at the moment, because we've gone live talking about these Sancho terms being agreed because there's a story going out there tonight about it. And as Corbeau says, Fabrizio said contract was never a problem. Exactly. This is exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? We go live tonight like we go live every night at 8 o'clock, and we're talking about Sancho's terms being agreed because that's the story tonight. What did we say? We said when we went live, look, this is not the thing anyway. Agreeing terms with Sancho isn't surprising. He wants to come to the Premier League. We've got the money to do that. And whether it's true or it's not, and it probably is true based on what Fabrizio is saying there, this is not the thing that makes the deal done. Sancho agreeing terms with United is not the deal. It's part of the deal. The biggest mountain is agreeing the fee with Dortmund. And that's what Romano's saying. And he said that 15 minutes ago. And I said it half an hour ago. And not because I know more than him. He knows more than me. But what I'm saying is when you look at it from a sensible point of common sense view, that's the situation. Of course we've been in conversation with Jadon Sancho. Of course we've spoken about principal deals. Of course we've spoken about hypothetical deals. Of course we've said, would you like a 5-year contract if you came? Would you want about 200 grand a week? Leave it with us. We'll speak to Dortmund. And that's all that's happening. So, look, it's good news in one way, but it's not surprising news in another. Hi, Mark. If you want to get 2 to 3 quality players from relegated clubs, who are they? Cantwell and Bendia are good players compared to some of our bench, says VA. And welcome to Nikhil Ladder, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Look, relegated clubs, players that I would buy, Norwich are going to go down, Bournemouth are going to go down, and Villa, I think, will go down, or Watford. If Watford go down, I like Sarr as a right winger. If Villa go down, it's Grealish. If Bournemouth go down, I don't want Josh King. Forget it. They've got nobody. If Norwich went down, I think both their fullbacks are good. Jamal Lewis and Max Aarons are very good, but do we need them? Cantwell would offer something. Is he United quality? I don't know, but I wouldn't say no, but I think Grealish should be the player that we go on. What's the best individual performance you've seen at Old Trafford in your lifetime? Says BMV Patrick. I mean, it depends what the question is. Is it for United or is it for opposition? Because we've had some bloody good performances at Old Trafford by the opposition. None more so than R9 Ronaldo, haven't we? But I've seen Beckham put in some good performances as well. I think, to me, I always revert to Roy Keane because you're talking about hundreds of games I've watched with United playing at Old Trafford, and many of them have been vintage performances. But I always revert to Keane because I think that the consistency of that man, he was just such a leader on the pitch as well. But it's hard to pick one game, really. That's not really my style to do that either. David Lee, welcome, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. What I do want to talk about, and I don't want to not miss this, so I want to talk about it. Remind me about Liam Bailey as well. I just want to say, the Premier League are doing Player of the Month for June. We've got 2 players nominated in there. I think they're Bruno Fernandes and Anthony Martial. For me, this is a travesty. I don't want to get Ricky onto this, but Nemanja Matic is our player of the month for June. Am I missing something? How are Bruno Fernandes and Anthony Martial up for player of the month for the Premier League, and not Nemanja Matic? This is my problem. This is always my problem. Fred Raymond says Solskjaer manager of the month. Well, I think it should be Solskjaer because he's won 2 and drawn 1, but they're saying that it could be Wolves manager because he's won 2. So I think there's a couple of managers who've won 2, but I think it should be Solskjaer. But player of the month should be Matic. But yet again, this is the problem with football. Mainstream media, scratch the surface and they're shallower than a worm's grave. It's always about who scores goals. How can you have Martial as player of the month and Bruno as player of the month in the Premier League when they're not player of the month for Manchester United? It should be Nemanja Matic. So I just wanted to get that out there because I think that is 100% the case. Maybe Tuanzebe has a broken heart, Mark. Would love to win the FA Cup and beat Liverpool in the Community Shield. Does anybody know what's happening with Tuanzebe? Axel, are you watching? I mean, look, to be honest with you, there will be United players who... Well, I know there are United players who watch the United stand. So, Axel, if you're watching, what's wrong with you? Why have you been out for a year? Like, you can twist your knee and ruin all your cartilages and be back within a year. I can't understand what injury you've done. Is it career threatening? Are you going to be back at some point? Are you going to be injury prone? I had big hopes for him. What do you think about Nathan Ake, says Saeed Ali. I've got Nathan Ake on my Villa career mode. Get in the bin, Arsenal. But if you know, you know. I don't know whether he's good enough for Manchester United. I don't know that. I don't know. Pete Squire says, great show, love the channel. Sancho isn't official until Fabrizio says, here we go. Inter want Alexi too, apparently. What a day. Look, as I said, if Inter Milan sign Alexis Sanchez, Conte's got to get a bloody statue. I mean, look, we forget that we got rid of Lukaku, we didn't want anymore for basically what we paid for him. So that was Conte. If he takes Alexis Sanchez as well, who I think's a great player. Alexis Sanchez is a brilliant player, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. He's a mate. I'll be gutted. I'll be so gutted if Inter Milan buy Alexis Sanchez for 17 million. Oh, I'll be gutted. We're losing a right player there. But I think if he wants to go, he's got to go. And I wish him all the best. Look, I hope he goes. Of course I do. Mark, if Alexis' injury is from what we got pulled in pre-game against Liverpool, that's his hip and it could be worrisome, says Southpaw Love Sports. Well, I mean, that's a great bit of additional information from Southpaw Love Sports because I think you're right. He pulled out of the game pre-game against Liverpool, didn't he? And hip, I have a hip problem. I mean, it's not a major problem. You could hardly call it a problem, but sometimes it does sort of move out of joint. It's absolutely excruciating pain. I just think it is something that is a long-term problem, to be honest with you. Martin Liu, could you see Luke Shaw converting into a centre-back? I think his speed and reading of the game could complement our other centre-backs. I think Luke Shaw could play as a left-sided centre-back. I mean, we've got Harry Maguire for that. But, yeah, I think that I think Luke Shaw's had a great season. I've said this many a time. Just a reminder, do not miss the watch along tomorrow. You are going to probably, I can't say what I'm going to need to say. You are going to be very excited. The United Stand for me started off as a fan channel for everybody to have their opinion from all around the world. And it's evolved into that. And it's stayed that. I always do the player ratings with my little yellow pen. The yellow pen is getting retired tomorrow. The player ratings will be 100% decided by you. None of these read the Manchester Evening News or the Daily Mail or some prat who's never watched the game who just gives rubbish scores. The player ratings will be decided by each and every one of you. It will be the most pure player ratings ever. Ever. Nobody's ever done this. So I'm so excited about it. And obviously that will be featured on my match reaction and on the watch along. So can't wait. Fred Raymond says 200k a week for Wet Sancho is far better than it could have been from United's negotiators, says Fred Raymond. Welcome to Ashutosh Mahanti, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Sancho can play on the right, left, middle. Greenwood and Sancho would play loads together. Yeah, look, Sancho can play off the left. He can play off the right. Greenwood can play off the right, off the left, and up front, and the ref if he wants to. So I think we're good. I mean, just one thing I did want to talk about as well. Leon Bailey, Sky Sports are saying that Leon Bailey wants a move, and therefore United are being linked to him. I mean, Leon Bailey doesn't always start games for Bayer Leverkusen. He's a player that I was looking at probably 2 or 3 years ago when I think he was at Genk. Potential to be a really good player. We've mentioned him on this show. Has he gone and fulfilled his potential? It's a bit like when we were talking about Felipe Anderson. Felipe Anderson was a player we were looking at a few years ago. He's now on West Ham's bench, who are a relegation side. So I don't know that Leon Bailey is a Manchester United player. As I've said many a time, for me, Sancho is the player that we need to look at. And anything less than Sancho is going to be a step down. And United should not be stepping down. We've done so well to step up over the last 3, 4, 5 months. Let's keep stepping up. We shouldn't make do anymore. We shouldn't make do. And I know that's dangerous because I'm almost saying if we can't get Sancho, you don't get anybody. But you've got to have that mentality, and Ollie's got to press that mentality that that's the player I want. I don't want to be telling you my second and third choices. I want that player. That's the player that's going to make us go to the next level, go to the next step. Divakumar Care says, Mark, don't you think we need to buy a centre-back? If Harry and Victor get injured, there is only Eric and Axel. Both of them are injury-prone, and Jones isn't even good to play Championship. Good point. Mark, everyone is worried. Rumours saying Pogba and Bruno are injured for tomorrow's game. Do you know if this is true? I mean, I've only read it in the Mirror, and I've also heard on Twitter that it's not true. Look, I can't ever guarantee you anything about team news, but I'll be very surprised if both of them don't start tomorrow. And I'd be very worried if they didn't start tomorrow. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Ashley Barrett, welcome, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Sharencha Shradar says, thoughts on 13 Southampton, 16 Crystal Palace, 19th Chelsea, 22nd West Ham. Feel we may have to give in on one of those games. Wolves could be ahead of us by 26th. Says, I think you're talking about the nature of the games, aren't you? Which I can talk about in a minute. Liam Hearn, welcome, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Lee Taylor says, would Simon Stone or Simon Peach ask Ollie what is going on with Axel? Fans need to know. I'm sure they would do. I mean, Simon Peach is just great. He'll ask any of the good questions. Did you read Fabrizio's tweet on Sancho? Says Darshan Singhvi. Yes, we did. And we've spoken about it, Darshan. But if anybody doesn't know, Fabrizio Romano, we started the show then talking about these terms that have apparently been agreed between Jadon Sancho, a deal in principle of 5 years with wages discussed and agreed as well. And Fabrizio Romano has said, well, that's not the problem anyway. Of course, Sancho will agree to the terms, but United, to get the deal done, have got to speak to Dortmund. And that's what I said at the start of the video. It wouldn't surprise me if terms had been agreed with Jadon Sancho, but it doesn't mean he's coming. It just means we're a little bit closer. You've got, as I said, Jadon Sancho could want to be wearing a United shirt. United could have had the wages and everything sorted, but then the United could say, we'll give you 50 million, and Dortmund can say, piss off. And then United say, we're not offering anything else. Sorry, Jadon, it's not done. You've got to get the deal done with Dortmund. Yes, it helps to agree terms with Sancho, but you've got to get the deal done with Dortmund, and that's what Fabrizio's saying as well. Welcome to Abhishek Patnaik, the latest member of the United Stand Members Club. On centre-backs, I think that was a very important point that was said about centre-backs, and I'm just going to get you some other news as well that I want to give you. On centre-backs, Phil Jones and, as I said this morning on the press conference reaction, Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe are out for the rest of the season. That means that we've got Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof and Eric Bailly. They're our only centre-backs. That's it. So, do we need a centre-back? Yes. Do I want a centre-back more than Sancho or Grealish? No. I would rather we promoted somebody from the youth team, to be honest. And that could well be Mengi. You could use Luke Shaw there if you needed to and give Harry Maguire a rest. I think Luke Shaw could play left-sided centre-back easily. So, but we'll just have to wait and see. But what I wanted to... Here we go. The dates for Manchester United's final games, which I think is what somebody was talking about. Adama Traore and Ruben Neves would be great, says Thiago Rees. And welcome to Leon Heen, Ashley Barrett and Abhishek Patnaik, the latest members of the club. Thank you very much for joining, everybody. And Charlie Jones says, Rabbi Matunde's little brother goes to my school and he's been saying his brother's looking for a house in Manchester. Thought this was interesting, says Charlie Jones. I mean, would United go for Matundu? He's hardly even playing for Schalke, is he? Okay, so the fixtures for July, as we know, they are quite... There's a weird one here that I've wanted to mention for a while, actually. If you listen to this. Saturday, July the 4th, tomorrow, we play Bournemouth. Next Thursday, we play Villa at 8:15. The following Monday, we play Southampton at 8 o'clock. Then on the Thursday, we play Crystal Palace. Thursday night football again. Then on the Sunday, we're playing Chelsea. And then on the Wednesday, we play West Ham. and then on the Sunday we play Leicester. So they are quite spaced out games, really. We're getting like 3 days between games, which is fine. I mean, that's not too bad. We play Saturday and then we don't play till Thursday, which is a 5-day break. Then we play on Monday, which is another 4-day break. Then we play Thursday, which is a 3-day break. Sunday 3-day break. Wednesday 3-day break, and then Sunday. So there's enough. There is enough breaks between games there, I think. To be fair, yeah, I think that there is. Yeah. Okay. We've hit 730,000 subscribers, by the way. Can I just do a couple of shout-outs? Personally, I never shout myself out. That's not what I'm doing. What T-shirt shall I wear tomorrow? Last week, Sheffield United, I wore the Martial shirt. He got a hat-trick. Last game, I wore the Bruno T-shirt. He scored. What T-shirt will I be wearing tomorrow? Whoever I wear, they will score. That's just how it works with the T-shirt. And second that never shout for CDM pick, proven quality, says Mr. Glenn Johnson. And could you say happy birthday to Shane McLaughlin? Thanks, says Sean Dowling. Happy birthday to Shane McLaughlin. Everybody in the live comments, could you please do the same if you so wish? And could Martial hit 25 goals in a season in the future, says Joe Hannon. I think he'll do it this year. Has he got 19 for the season? So I think he could do 25 this year, easily. Yeah, 2 shout-outs. One, tomorrow morning, the chart show. It's a very much a cult show on the United Stand, with an L, not the N. Basically, every Saturday morning we count down. I used to love Top of the Pops, you see. So we count down the top 10 United players of the week. Matic was number 1 last week. Will he hold on to the spot? Or has someone like Bruno or a Wan-Bissaka or maybe somebody else done enough to get over? That'll be going up at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Fantastic show. Give it a watch. A lot of people like it, but you've got to watch it to like it. And also, we were in the studio today. Me and Flex were in the studio today. You might not have seen it. It's a new weekly show. It's a Premier League review show where we talk about United, but also the top 4 race, mid-table clubs, relegation, VAR moments, and things like that. So give it a watch. That's in the United Stand studio, which some of you may not have seen. It's the picture on the homepage that's got the blue with Harry Maguire. So give that a watch. I think you'll really enjoy that. Thanks everyone for watching. Check out the chart show in the morning, and do not miss the watch along tomorrow. I tell you what, it's revolutionary what we're going to launch around player ratings. I think you're going to love it. It's been built for you. We've built it and we've paid for it, and it's a system that will work really well in relation to player ratings, and it's a present to you. So make sure you watch the watch along tomorrow afternoon, especially. But chart shows out in the morning. Check out the Premier League show. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Remember, we're live every night at 8 o'clock, and we've got match reactions, watch alongs, previews, Ollie's press conference. Morning shows at 10 o'clock, loads to get involved with. Thank you, everybody. It's been a really tiring show, but I hope you've enjoyed it. And cheers to all the moderators, as ever, and everybody who's watching live. And if you couldn't watch it live, thanks for watching it a bit later. Speak to you all soon. Another step forward for Jadon, yes, but the mountain is getting the fee agreed with Dortmund. And as I said, and I've said it for a while now, I'm 80% sure we'll be signing him. United just got to get it over the line. Thanks for watching. Have a nice evening, and I'll see you in the morning.